Welcome to the channel. I am Amanda, and today I'm going to share some reasons why you hate camping and what to do about it. If you've tried camping before and you hated it, maybe this will help. Or if you have friends or family members who think they hate it, maybe this will help as well. So let's dive into the list. Reason number one that you hate camping is you did not plan appropriately. I just uploaded a video a couple weeks ago all about how I plan a camping trip. So that's a great resource if you want to dive more into this. But planning is not necessarily about creating some rigid, timed itinerary. It is about figuring out the who, what, when, and where of your trip. So all of those very specific details. And one of the reasons you want to do that is because you're going to leave that information with several people back at home. So people back at home always know exactly who, what, when, and where of your camping trip. Now, another reason to create a good plan is it allows you to adapt on the go if things don't go the way that you're expecting. So many people just plan for the expected and not the unexpected, but a good plan kind of assesses both. So for example, let's say that you want to go to a specific campground and it is a first come, first serve campground. So you can't make reservations. You just have to hope you get there early enough to secure a spot before a bunch of other people get there. So let's say that's your plan and you get there and it's completely full. What do you do now, right? So a good plan at home would kind of have some other areas in mind that you know you can go and try to find some campsites. So it's about allowing you to actually adapt and reducing so much stress and frustration when you actually get out there camping. Another good reason to have an understanding of who, what, when, and where is it allows you to pack appropriately with your gear and your clothing and your food for the trip that you're going on. Trips where you just kind of like go out on a whim and throw all your stuff in the car, hope you got everything and hope you're gonna just figure it out on the go, it doesn't generally set you up for success, and it just creates at the very least some tension and some stress that is kind of unnecessary if you do some research at home and have a really good understanding of the area that you're going and places that you can camp and securing any reservations ahead of time if that's applicable. Reason number two you hate camping is you are unorganized. Now, this is not at all meant to be a criticism, because if you are new to camping and you don't really know a whole lot about it, it's hard to know what and how to organize, right? Like it's just kind of something that's unknown. You don't have experience. So it's very understandable to be a little bit unorganized and scattered with your gear when you're first starting out. One of the things that I do is I organize my gear into bins. So I have basically one bin that is my camp kitchen gear, and it has just my bowls, my plates, a spatula, a pan, like all that kind of stuff. And then I have another bin that is what I call my camping pantry bin. And that has all of the food that doesn't need to go in the cooler, all right there in one place. And then I have a cooler, which I'm currently sitting on. And then my other gear, like my tent and all that stuff, just kind of gets put in the car. Having bins to organize your stuff, and you can come up with your own organizational system, just makes things so much easier when you actually get to camp and when you're trying to find things. Because it's super frustrating when you just throw everything in the car and then you get to camp and you don't know where anything is. You can't find anything. You have to take everything out. And then things get even more confusing and unorganized. And so I found that staying organized using bins is a game changer when it comes to camping. The other thing about this, I use clear bins so I can easily see what's inside and what I'm actually grabbing. But it also makes it so easy to bring your stuff to your campsite from your car, because you're just lifting a bin and bringing it to your site. You're not like going back and forth a million times for a bunch of different bags. So staying organized with your gear will make your camping experience so much better. And again, I have tons of other resources on this channel for organization and just streamlining that whole process. Reason number three you hate camping is you do not have the right gear or good gear. Now, I want to be clear, good gear does not always mean the most expensive gear. I do not think that you need to go out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get into camping, but there are some areas that you might want to prioritize that will make your camping trip I think a lot more enjoyable. So that main area, in my opinion, is your sleep system. So your sleeping pad, your sleeping bag, and your tent. We've all had those nights at home where we just don't sleep. You toss and turn all night and it sucks just laying there for hours. And then you wake up and you have to go through your day really tired, groggy, cranky. It's just not fun. So if you come out camping and every night you're camping, you're miserable all night long, you can't sleep. Well, that's one, not fun, but you're also not gonna have fun during the day probably because you're just gonna be super tired. So prioritizing a good sleep system, I think, is definitely worth it. And specifically, I'd like to highlight the sleeping pad. There are so many different sleeping pad options on the market, but the sleeping pad is not just for comfort, it's also for insulating you from the ground. So it will help keep you warm as well. So these that I have here, I don't know, they're not blown up all the way, but this is an Xped Mega Mat and it is amazing. I bought this kind of on a whim and I've had it for, I think, 3, maybe 4 years now. And it totally upped the game for me when it came to camping. I sleep so comfortably. It's like this thick when it's blown up, and so it's great for side sleepers. It's just super, super comfortable. This is not something I would take backpacking, so this is for car camping when you're driving your vehicle up to a site. But this was one of the pieces of gear that I wish I upgraded to sooner. It is a bit pricey, but for me, being able to sleep comfortably at night while camping is super important. And so I definitely would prioritize a really good sleeping pad. As I said earlier, the mistake is also maybe not having the right gear for the area that you're going, the time of year, the climate, the elevation, weather. So all these things should be factored into what you take and why. And so again, kind of going back to that planning, thinking through this stuff at home, having good gear and the right gear will really make your camping trip so much better. Reason number 4 is you're not comfortable slowing down. So what I mean is, in our modern world, it's pretty fast paced, right? Like we wake up, from the moment we wake up, we usually have a ton of stuff to do, or we're scrolling through stuff on our phone that's like super stimulating and requires a lot of focus. I know for me, I stare at a computer for a lot of hours, like intensely focused. We're very uncomfortable, I think, slowing down and maybe being even a little bit bored or not having a whole lot to do. And I think that that's actually an important thing for us to do, is actually slow down and to take a moment to like breathe and to not have a ton of stuff to do and not be distracting ourselves with Instagram and just that constant scroll where our mind is focused and we're like getting fed so much information that either makes us happy or rage or whatever it is. Like, it's just so much noise. And it can be a little bit uncomfortable at first to slow down, to come out camping and you don't have service. So you can't dial in to everything that's going on in the world, on Instagram, on other social media platforms, with your job. And so you have to kind of slow down and be present. And since we don't do that very much in our lives anymore, it can just feel uncomfortable at first. And so I guess what I would say is, I would kind of encourage you to be with that boredom, to kind of be with that slowness and just let it be. Give your mind a break. There's this book that I'm going to refer to called The Comfort Crisis. It is one of my favorite books. It's so, so good. But there's a whole section on boredom. There's a lot of flies here. Can't do anything about that. So there's a section on boredom, and the author is interviewing this guy named James, who is a researcher, and he studies people's brains and what's going on in the brain when a person is feeling the discomfort of boredom. So the author kind of boils it down to, you have sort of these 2 modes. You have focused mode and unfocused mode. And like I already said, we spend so much of our lives in this like focused mode. And the research is kind of suggesting that this unfocused mode is actually very good and important for the brain. If you feel burnt out in your life, then maybe pay attention to this, because I think this is something that does help me a bit. So I just want to read you one paragraph here that I really thought was interesting to note, especially relative to what we're talking about. So unfocused mode occurs when we're not paying attention. It's inward mind wandering, a rest state that restores and rebuilds the resources needed to work better and more efficiently in the focused state. Time in unfocused mode is critical to get shit done, tap into creativity, process complicated information, and more. So there's so much in this book. If this is your kind of thing, definitely check out this book. I will link to it below. If you kind of are uncomfortable initially slowing down or not having a whole lot to do, there is some research to suggest that this unfocused mode is actually really good for the brain and helps you be more productive when you actually are working. And I will say, just from a personal note, I always seem to get my best ideas when I am out camping or when I am hiking, and when I do kind of have that inward mind wandering, when my mind is not focused on something or tuned into some sort of social media thing where I'm getting so much stimulation at every second. A lot of people get good ideas in the shower, right? Because you're in that unfocused mode. Your mind is wandering. And so that's actually, it seems like a very important state for your mind and just something interesting to consider. Reason number 5 that you hate camping is you eat crappy food. Now, just because you're out camping, that does not mean that the food has to suck. I know for me, if I eat like really heavy processed foods all day long, like I don't feel good. I want you to eat some good food when you're out camping. There are tons, I can't even list them all at this point, tons and tons of camping meal related videos on this channel. I even have in the description below a free camp cooking starter kit. It has a meal planner guide, a camp kitchen gear checklist, and a bunch of recipes. So you can download that if that's something you're interested in. It will help you stay organized and just really streamline the whole meal process when you're out camping. It doesn't have to be complicated in order to be good. A lot of my meals are incredibly simple, either camp stove or campfire meals, free printable recipes on the blog. So definitely take advantage of that if you want to up your camp cooking game. For me, that's one of my favorite parts about going camping, is cooking outdoors and sharing those meals with friends and family in an undistracted environment is so special. And I really want you to have those moments and those memories as well when you're out camping. You don't need to eat ramen all day, every day when you're camping, even though I do love a good bowl of ramen, don't get me wrong. But if you just want to do some cooking and eat some fresher meals, then I got you. Reason number 6 that people say they hate camping is they say it is uncomfortable. And to this point, I will say, yes, sometimes it is uncomfortable. I don't want to paint the picture that camping is always just rainbows and unicorns and me just enjoying the sunshine in this perfect, beautiful outdoor space with no discomfort and no problems and no adversity. It is not always like that. There are so many things that can derail your plan. You have weather that may be unexpected. I mean, so many things. It's not always easy. It's not always comfortable. And that's one of the reasons I like it. I'm just going to share some of the ways that I sort of reframe that discomfort and why I actually think it's pretty good for me. In my everyday life, I live in a pretty comfortable condo. I have a temperature controlled environment. It is very easy to go to the bathroom. I have food and water readily available. And these things are easy to take for granted because they're just part of your everyday life. But when you go camping and you have to walk to the bathroom, when you have to go fetch your water, when things are just a little bit harder, it really is, for me, kind of like a reset button, and it puts everything into perspective and allows me to be super, super grateful for the things that I do have in my ordinary everyday life. It really kind of puts into perspective just how extraordinary that ordinary stuff is. And I think that that's a really special thing. One of the things that I've really tried to do is reframe discomfort. And I even tell myself, like, this discomfort is good for me. Exercise is a perfect example. Like when I go to the gym and I do a workout, it's not always comfortable. It sucks sometimes. I can't breathe. My muscles are burning. But that discomfort is ultimately good for me. It makes me stronger. It builds mental resilience. And so I keep coming back for more, right? Because it's more than just the physical workout. And the same with camping. It just reframes everything else in life. And so I try to embrace it as part of camping and what makes camping so great. So I hope you like this video. If you've maybe tried camping before and you didn't love it, hopefully you've got some tips to help you get more organized and even just mindset stuff to make it more enjoyable next time. Or you can share this video with friends and family who might not love camping. The whole mission behind this channel is to really help people get outside more. Camping and hiking and backpacking, all these things that I talk about on this channel have really, really enriched my life. And so I just want to create content that helps you get out there and experience that as well. So if you like this video, share it with a friend, give it a like, and comment below, I love camping, so that I know you got this far. I would love to see you in another video, so hit that subscribe button. I will see you in the next video.